Some people don't just steal your work. They steal your entire identity. Some betrayals don't hit like explosions. They cut quietly, right in the soft places where your kindness was used. Your talent was borrowed, and someone else smiled while wearing your work like a crown. My name is Jonathan, and I sent this story to Real Life Karma TV from my email, hunetjonathan@gmail.com, because the truth didn't just slip out over dinner. It unraveled in front of the two people my sister never imagined would expose her. Let's start at the beginning.
My sister, Emily, was the golden child, the miracle, the family superstar, the future CEO. According to everyone we knew. Me? I was the builder, the fixer, the one who solved the problems she didn't want to touch and cleaned the messes she didn't want to admit existed. But everything changed the night Emily brought two very important people to a family dinner. Her senior manager, Lisa Harper, a woman sharper than broken glass and twice as dangerous to anyone who lies, and her new boyfriend, Mason Reed, a quiet data analyst with a photographic memory and a habit of noticing everything. That night, at one single table, in one single hour, the truth Emily had been hiding for 2 decades finally cracked open. And Karma pulled up a chair. Emily and I grew up 2 years apart, but in our parents' eyes, she hung on the ceiling and I blended into the wallpaper. Emily was bright, social, charismatic. She didn't enter rooms, she announced them. Everyone adored her. I was the kid with notebooks, tools, ideas, hands that built, and a mind that connected dots faster than I could speak them out loud. But every achievement Emily had, I was somewhere behind it. Her 5th grade volcano? I built it. She painted it pink and told people, creativity is my gift. Her middle school essay? I wrote it entirely. She got 1st place and cried in front of the crowd about believing in yourself. High school? Forget it. Group projects, presentations, research. I was the ghostwriter of her academic life. But nobody noticed, because nobody ever looks at the ghost. Fast forward to adulthood. Emily joined a marketing agency. Pretty faces and smooth talkers thrive there, and Emily was both. But her senior manager, Lisa Harper, was a different breed. Lisa didn't care about charm, or smiles, or the gifted golden child persona Emily used her whole life. Lisa cared about consistency, about process, about people who could actually deliver. She once told her entire team, "If you steal ideas, I will know. If you take shortcuts, I will know. If you lie, your career ends that day." Emily hated her because Emily knew that under Lisa's microscope, she wouldn't survive long. So, what did she do? She used me. Again, again, and again. But Lisa still sensed something off. She didn't say it out loud, but she watched. And that's how she ended up as the most important witness at our family dinner.
Emily's new boyfriend, Mason Reed, was everything she wanted people to think she was. Smart, articulate, observant, analytical. But he had something Emily didn't. A moral compass that pointed in one direction only: truth. Emily dated him because he made her look impressive. A high-value man, as she bragged to my mother. What she didn't realize was that Mason noticed patterns. How her work didn't match her skills. How her writing style changed overnight. How her design aesthetics weren't consistent. He kept quiet, watched, compared, and when he saw her laptop one day and found a folder labeled J Notes, he knew. He didn't confront her yet. He wanted the right time, the right moment, the right audience, and he found it at that family dinner. My sister walked into the restaurant that night like royalty, heels clicking, dress shimmering, ego glowing. My parents were vibrating with pride. They told everyone, Emily's manager is coming, and Emily's boyfriend is brilliant, and tonight is about her. I sat quietly at the corner of the table, the same place I sat my whole life.
But for the first time ever, two strangers were sitting across from me who knew the truth, or at least pieces of it. Lisa, sharp, suspicious, already watching Emily. Mason, calm, stone-faced, holding information Emily didn't know he had. Tonight wasn't a celebration. It was a storm, waiting for one wrong sentence from my sister to break wide open. And she had no idea. The moment we sat down at the table, I felt it. A tension, thin as glass, sharp as a secret. Emily didn't notice. She was too busy dazzling the room. She laughed, flipped her hair, told dramatic stories about her creative genius. And my parents? They soaked it in like thirsty plants under sunlight. But Lisa Harper, sat there with her arms crossed and eyes narrowed in that way only a manager who's seen too many lies can do. And Mason, he didn't smile, didn't touch his drink, didn't even look at Emily the way new boyfriends usually do. He watched her, not lovingly, but carefully, like a man studying a puzzle that suddenly doesn't solve the same way anymore. This was going to be a long dinner. I am sorry for any pain our confusion has caused, but this letter and the documents attached are my attempt to set things right before I leave this world. I love you, all of you. But love does not mean allowing lies to stand unchallenged. Signed, Elaine Hart, your mother. The letter shook slightly in the lawyer's hands as he lowered it. No one spoke, no one moved. Karma had entered the room and taken a seat. When Attorney Hargrove lowered the letter, the room sat in a silence so heavy it felt like gravity doubled. Mark stared at the table as if the wood grain had personally betrayed him. Jessica was frozen, one hand over her mouth, eyes red and swollen. Aunt Margaret leaned back, arms crossed, expression sharp as a knife, the look of someone who'd known this truth long before the letter confirmed it. Alex Turner stood still, hands clasped in front of him, like he was afraid that if he moved, the entire room might shatter. Finally, Mark snapped.
"This is ridiculous," Mark barked, slamming both palms onto the table. The sound echoed like a gunshot. He stood abruptly, chair scraping harshly across the floor. "My mother was sick. She was confused. She didn't know what she was signing." Attorney Hargrove didn't flinch. Not even a millimeter. "Your mother was frail," he said calmly. "She was not confused." Mark's face twitched. He began pacing like a caged animal, hands clenched, jaw locked. Jessica finally found her voice. This can't be right," she whispered, crying harder. She told us we were doing everything correctly." Aunt Margaret snorted softly. "Your mother told you what you wanted to hear, so you'd stop pushing her." Jessica blinked rapidly. What do you mean?" Margaret stood, her voice low but strong. "It means your mother was afraid of you two, fighting. She hated conflict. She always let you talk over her, ever since you were kids." Jessica covered her face. Mark pointed at Aunt Margaret. "You've always been against us. You're twisting things." The lawyer held up a hand. "Enough," he said sharply. "This is a legal proceeding, not a family brawl." Mark scoffed, but sat down, albeit stiffly.
Alex stepped forward, voice steady, though his hands trembled slightly. "There's more," he said softly. I didn't just find the envelope." He placed another thin folder on the table. "I found the original drafts your mother asked for. They were buried at the bottom of the old file box." Buried. The word hung in the air like a confession. Attorney Hargrove opened the folder and pulled out several documents, yellowed pages, different ink colors, handwritten notes in the margins. "These," he said, "are the signed drafts that match the instructions your mother gave me 2 years ago. Then, 1 year ago. Then, 6 months ago." He flipped through each version. Every single one of these divides the estate equally. Jessica flinched. Her shoulders curled inward, like she was trying to disappear. Mark's face went beet red. "That proves nothing," he growled. "You don't know how they got there." Alex spoke up. "Actually, I do." Mark whipped around, furious. "Oh, really? And what would you know, kid?" Alex swallowed, but he didn't look away. "When I checked the case archive, your sister's name was on the access log 3 times. Jessica choked on air. "What? No."
"I was helping Dad. He asked me to. I don't..." Margaret raised an eyebrow. Funny how the helping stopped right after the equal split drafts were shredded. Jessica froze. Attorney Hargrove added quietly, "We have security camera footage as well." Mark's jaw dropped. "You... what? You film us?" "No," the lawyer replied. "The building has routine archival monitoring. It caught your sister removing files." Jessica sobbed, almost collapsed back into her chair. I didn't know. Mark told me." She broke. Right there. Tears pouring, mascara streaking, breath hitching. Mark glared at her. "Shut up, Jess." "No," Aunt Margaret said coldly. "Let her speak. It's the first honest thing she's said all day."
Jessica finally whispered it. Tad believed success mattered. He always favored us. He said Daniel was too soft. She turned to me, eyes full of something between guilt and desperation. He said you didn't have ambition, that you didn't need anything, that we deserved the business because we worked harder. A tear slipped down my cheek. I was there more than both of you combined. "I know," she cried. "That's why Dad didn't respect it. He said showing up was the bare minimum. He said money mattered more." Alex turned his head away, as if the words physically hurt. Aunt Margaret shook her head slowly, disgusted. That man measured his children in dollar signs, and you two were happy to be the most profitable. Mark exploded again. "You don't get it. Daniel was never going to carry the legacy. Dad wanted leaders, not a school teacher." I swallowed hard. That school teacher paid half your parents' medical bills. Silence. Jessica wiped her face with shaking hands. "I didn't know." "She kept track." Alex nodded softly. "She kept everything."
Halfway through appetizers, Emily started talking about her newest award. She lifted the little crystal trophy from her purse and placed it on the table like it was the Holy Grail. Mom gasped. Dad clapped. Emily beamed. But Lisa leaned forward just slightly and said with the calm of a surgeon, "Emily, remind me, which part of that campaign did you write again?" Emily's smile twitched, just a little, barely visible unless you knew her like I did. She cleared her throat. "Oh,
You know how creativity just comes to me.
Lisa didn't laugh. She didn't blink. Humor me. Her voice soft but sharp, surgical. Emily looked at Mason as if begging him to jump in, but he didn't move. He didn't rescue her. He just raised an eyebrow and waited. The first bead of fear rolled down my sister's spine, and I saw it.
For the first time in my life, Emily was the one shrinking in her chair. Lisa took a sip of her wine, then placed the glass down gently. Emily, your pitch deck last month, the one that won you this award, the writing style changed dramatically from page 3 onward. Emily froze. Mom said, "Oh, that just means she's versatile, right?" But Lisa kept her eyes on Emily. Funny, because the shift wasn't just stylistic. It matched the writing tone of someone I found on LinkedIn, an engineer. My fork slipped. It hit the plate louder than it should have. The whole table turned to me. Emily's eyes went wide, panic flashing behind them like a warning siren. "Oh, I mean, Jonathan just helped me brainstorm. Just a little." Lisa leaned in. "Emily, you told the team you developed that entire concept alone." Mom gasped again, but not the proud kind this time. Dad's jaw tightened. "Mason?" He stared straight at Emily, like he was watching the truth crawl out of the walls. This was the moment Emily should have confessed, should have told the truth.
But my sister had a gift, a talent she perfected since childhood. She doubled down on the lie. Emily raised her chin. Fake confidence, fake composure, fake everything. "I wrote it," she said. "I did all of it. Jonathan only fixed the grammar. He always helps like that." A small lie, but the wrong audience. Because Mason, quiet, observant Mason, finally spoke. His voice was calm, precise, almost too controlled. "Emily, that's interesting. Because last week, I saw the draft on your laptop." Emily stiffened. He continued. "The file was titled J Concept REV3. Why would a file you wrote start with the letter J?" I felt my stomach drop. Everyone else held their breath. Emily tried to laugh it off. "Oh, Mason, you must have misread it or something." But Mason didn't look away. No, I opened it. The writing style didn't match your emails, your texts, or anything I've ever seen you write. But it did match Jonathan's graduate thesis I found linked on his portfolio. Hours stopped, time froze, and my parents, the ones who never saw me, looked at me like they were seeing a stranger sitting at their dinner table.
Emily panicked. She spoke fast, too fast. I collaborate. That's normal. Everyone collaborates. Right, Lisa? Right? Lisa folded her hands. Collaboration is normal. Lying isn't. The words hit the table like a gavel. Mom whispered, "Emily? Sweetheart? Did you really lie to your entire company?" Her voice trembling. Dad muttered under his breath, "What have you done?" Emily shook her head violently. "No, this is all misunderstood." Then she turned to me, eyes filled with demanding desperation. "John, tell them I did the work, and you just polished it." For my entire life, I was the invisible brother, the shadow, the helper, the boy who never got credit. And now, for the first time ever, everyone was looking at me, waiting for an answer that would either expose Emily or save her. I realized then the power she stole was finally in my hands. But before I spoke, Lisa said something that made the entire room go completely still. Lisa leaned back, voice low, controlled, terrifyingly calm.
Emily, this isn't about polishing. We ran your work through an AI analysis last week. Emily's face drained of color, and the system flagged multiple campaigns for inconsistent authorship. Mom gasped. Dad swore under his breath. Even the server stopped pouring water. Emily whispered, Why would you do that?" Lisa stared into her eyes. "Because I don't reward fraud." And just like that, my sister's golden world finally started to crack. When Lisa dropped that sentence, "I don't reward fraud," it didn't just hit the table. It shattered something inside Emily. Her shoulders dropped, her breathing sped up, her eyes darted around as if she could find an exit to escape the truth closing in on her. But there was no exit. Not tonight. Not anymore.
Emily tried to speak, but the words came out thin, trembling. "Lisa, I never meant to. I was overwhelmed. Everyone expected so much from me. Lisa raised one hand. "Stop. Calm. Cold. Professional. Like she'd done this before. You weren't overwhelmed. You were perfectly comfortable letting someone else do your work and taking full credit for it. Mom covered her mouth. Dad stared down at the table, ashamed. But Mason stared at her like he was looking at a stranger. Emily reached for his hand in desperation. "Mason, please, tell them you know I'm not like that." He didn't move his hand. He didn't blink. Instead, he said the words that detonated the entire dinner. "Emily, I didn't just see the file." The table froze again. He continued, voice so calm it made Emily shake harder. "Every draft you created was saved from one device. Jonathan's." Mom whispered, "Oh my God." Dad exhaled deeply, like he'd been punched in the stomach. Emily stuttered, "Mason, stop. You're making it sound worse than it is." But Mason kept going.
I compared timestamps, too. Jonathan sent you messages at 2 a.m. asking if the revisions were okay. You replied with emojis and took the drafts to your boss the next morning. I looked down. I remembered those nights. Every single one of them. Emily begging, crying, calling herself a failure. Until I fixed everything. And then the next day, she posted on Instagram, "Hard work pays off." That night, karma wasn't just hitting her. It was dragging the truth she buried for 20 years straight into the light. Emily slammed her hand on the table. Fine. Yes, he helped. Are you all happy now?" Her voice cracked. Her mascara smudged. "But I had the ideas. I guided the direction. He just executed." Lisa's eyebrow lifted. The kind of lift that tells you someone just dug their own grave. "Emily, your ideas were nearly identical to previous engineering projects your brother did in college." Emily froze. "And the campaign sketches were traced from concept drawings Jonathan posted publicly in 2017. Do you know what we call that?" "Plagiarism." Emily gasped, like the word physically burned her.
Mom finally turned to me. Her voice was barely above a whisper. "Jonathan, why didn't you tell us?" For 20 years, those words never once left her mouth. Why didn't I tell them? Because I was trained since childhood to make myself smaller so Emily could look bigger. Because every time I tried to speak, they talked over me, corrected me, or worse, told Emily how talented she was right in front of me. But tonight, for the first time ever, they were listening. So I spoke. I looked directly at my mother. Because you wouldn't have believed me. Emily gasped. Mom flinched. Dad's jaw tightened. I continued calmly. No anger, just truth. When we were kids, she took my projects, and you praised her. When we were teenagers, she used my essays, and you framed her awards on the living room wall. When we were adults, she called me crying because she didn't understand her job. And I didn't want her to fail. My voice cracked slightly.
So I helped every time, every night, for years. But you never asked why I didn't have awards. You never asked what I was working on. You looked at her like she was a star, and looked at me like I was the shadow behind her. Mom began to cry. Dad looked down, ashamed. I breathed in, slow. And Emily knew. She knew the only way she'd shine was if I stayed invisible. Emily broke down, shoulders shaking, hands covering her face. John, please. I didn't mean, I just didn't think it mattered. Lisa cut in. It mattered. Slow. Firm. True. Lisa opened her bag, pulled out a folder, and slid it across the table. These are the internal reports. Emily didn't touch it. Lisa's voice stayed controlled, precise. Your campaigns will be reassigned for reanalysis. Your award is under review, and HR will schedule a formal meeting with you on Monday morning. Emily's face crumpled. She whispered, Lisa, please don't do this. But Lisa shook her head. I'm not doing anything to you. You did this to yourself.
Emily grabbed Mason's arm. Mason, baby, please, tell them I'm not a bad person. Tell them you still love me. But Mason slowly removed her hand. Emily, I can't be with someone who builds their entire life on lies. Emily's breath broke. No, you can't leave me. Not tonight, not in front of them. But Mason wasn't done. He leaned in and delivered the final line that sent shivers down the table. Emily, you didn't just steal Jonathan's work. You stole his life. And I won't spend mine with someone who destroys others to feel important. Emily collapsed into quiet sobs. Lisa looked away, giving her privacy she didn't deserve. My parents stared at me. Really stared. Like they were meeting their son for the first time. And I, for the first time ever. The dinner ended in silence. Not the peaceful kind, the kind that follows explosions. Emily cried into her napkin while Mason walked out. Lisa left shortly after, professional as always, but not without nodding at me. A quiet acknowledgement, a rare kind of respect. My parents stayed seated, still, speechless. For the first time in my life, they weren't looking at Emily.
They were looking at me. But the real karma? It didn't happen at the table. It happened in the days that followed. Monday came like a storm. 9:03 a.m., Emily was called into HR. Her hands shaking, mascara already smudged. She expected a warning, maybe a performance plan, maybe a slap on the wrist. But what she got was much worse. The company had forwarded everything to the legal department because the clients she lied to, big names, big contracts, big consequences. Emily's award-winning campaigns weren't just plagiarized, they were tied to million-dollar accounts based on false representation. Lisa was in the room, arms crossed, eyes cold. They slid a paper toward her. "You are terminated, effective immediately." Emily's breath hitched. Her world fell apart in 11 silent seconds. She tried to speak, to beg, to blame, to cry. But Lisa said one final sentence that sealed the karma. "You didn't just break company trust, you stole another person's career." They escorted her out. No applause, no spotlight, no crown. Just consequences.
Emily came home with red eyes and shaking hands. My parents didn't scream. They didn't punish. They didn't defend her. They cried. Because for the first time, they saw the daughter they helped create. A girl addicted to praise, to shortcuts, to being the center of every room. And they finally saw the son they ignored, standing right next to her. Dad sat beside me one night. He didn't look at me at first, didn't know how. Then he whispered, "Jonathan, I'm sorry. We raised you to be strong and raised her to be special. And we didn't realize we broke both of you." I didn't cry, but something in me softened. A knot that lived in my chest for 20 years finally loosened. Mom apologized too. Not dramatic, not loud, just sincere. And strangely, that healed something. Because apologies don't erase damage, but they acknowledge it. And sometimes, that's the first step forward.
3 days after the dinner, Emily showed up at my place. She knocked softly. Not the demanding, entitled knock I grew up with. A smaller one. A human one. I opened the door. She looked small, deflated. Not the golden child. Just a child. She sat on my couch and cried for 5 minutes straight before she could speak. "John, I don't know who I am without the praise. I don't know how to be good
without you doing everything for me. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. Her voice cracked. Please don't hate me. I shook my head. I don't hate you, Em. I just finally chose to stop disappearing. She cried harder. For a long moment, we said nothing. And for the first time, she saw me. Not the shadow, not the helper, not the brother she used like a tool. She saw the person.
Karma didn't destroy her. It humbled her. She lost her job, her relationship, her reputation in the marketing circle. But she didn't lose everything. She went to therapy, got evaluated for performance anxiety and chronic validation dependency. She started taking classes to build real skills, not borrowed ones. She even apologized to her old coworkers. And shockingly, some accepted it. She wasn't perfect after that. People don't change overnight, but she changed enough to become someone real for the first time. And that was its own kind of justice. As for me, my life took a turn I didn't expect. Lisa reached out. Jonathan, if you ever want a role in creative engineering solutions, call me. I took the interview. I got the job. Turns out, when you finally step out of the shadows, companies actually love people like me. Quiet, steady, skilled, consistent. I didn't become flamboyant or flashy. I didn't suddenly crave the spotlight. But for the first time ever, I wasn't invisible. I was respected, valued, seen. And the best part, I earned it with my own name, on my own work, under a company that actually acknowledged it.
I realized something that night at dinner. People who steal credit aren't afraid of being caught. They're afraid the person they stole from will finally stand up. Because when the invisible person rises, they don't rise alone. They bring the truth with them. And the truth, it always sits closest to karma. You're watching Real Life Karma TV. If this story hit home, tap like. Drop a comment about the moment you stopped being invisible. And subscribe for more real stories where karma does what karma does best. And hey, if you have a story, a real one, a painful one, a powerful one, send it to us at reallifekarmatv@gmail.com. Because who knows, maybe your story will be the next one told on this channel. Maybe your voice will help someone who thinks they're alone. And maybe, just maybe, your story will appear here one day. Your story might save someone who really needs to hear it.